Hi everybody, this is Beach Baby Bob on March the 6th. It's 31 degrees in Bucerias, Mexico, and it's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So, usually on Sundays I get on the bus with Sue and we go up to the La Cruz Market, which is a little market just about 10 minutes along the coast in a little town called La Cruz, and they have a man there who makes the most delicious carrot cake in the whole wide world, even better than mine. Well, yesterday we ran out of carrot cake and we never got to the La Cruz market, so today I decided to make my own Mexican version of carrot cake. So here I am in my kitchen and I'm about to start. So the first thing I did was I went to the store and I bought all the necessary things, you know, the flour and the sugar and the carrots, all kinds of creams and baking soda and baking powder. And lucky I got the biggest oven in the hotel here because it'll cook a giant turkey and anything else you want to bake. Thank goodness. And I got the tree here out the kitchen window, protecting me and the ocean and the breeze, and it's just gorgeous up here, so I can't go wrong. So I decided to, I only have one cake pan I brought a few years ago, so I put a little butter in the bottom of the pan along the sides and a little bit of all-purpose flour, unbleached, in there to dust it. That's my first step. So since I was telling you I only have one cake pan, so what I'm going to do, usually I use two of these round cake pans, so I'm going to make the batter up, the cake mixture up, bake one of those pans, take it out, and then put the other batter in and bake the other one. That's the way I'm going to do it. But so I'm going to start with the dry ingredients, so I need 2 cups of all-purpose flour. I could use whole wheat, but I don't have that. And a couple cups of sugar, so I'll use the white sugar, maybe some brown sugar mixed in with it. Maybe not so much, maybe some, maybe a cup and a half of sugar and some honey, because I got the best honey over there, right from the organic market in La Cruz a few Sundays back. So anyway, I'm going to do that, and I need some cinnamon and some salt, and so I'll mix the dry ingredients in this bowl here. That's the first thing I'm going to do, and I kind of don't measure. So I forgot to tell you, there's also baking powder and baking soda in the dry mixture. So 2 cups of sugar, and I'm not using 2 cups, I'm going to use a little bit more than one, and some honey. And then there's 2 cups of all-purpose unbleached flour, but it was all-purpose here at the Mexican grocery store, but I don't know about unbleached. And I'm not using whole wheat, I'm using all-purpose white flour. And then there's some salt, some cinnamon, and then 2 teaspoons of baking powder and 2 teaspoons of baking soda. And I'm going to mix it up really well. And here it is all mixed together. Looks pretty good. Now the wet ingredients. So I'll put that aside for a second, and then I'll mix the eggs and the oil, but of course I didn't have any canola oil, and I don't want to use my olive oil, that's too strong, and I don't like their corn oil here, so I'm going to use butter. And this is real butter, it's not margarine, and you got to be careful when you're in the grocery stores because the butter looks like margarine and the margarine looks like butter, and if you don't know the language, you're screwed. But there's a lady at the Mexican Sunday market who sells that organic yogurt, sugar-free. It's the best. And she sells the most delicious organic butter that she makes herself. And there's some in a bowl there, and that's going to be my oil. So the eggs and the oil and the vanilla. And I bought some vanilla at the market. I'll show you the vanilla I got here. The trick is that vanilla in Mexico is supposed to be wonderful, and people bring it back to Canada and the United States to their friends for gifts. And this has even got the bean inside and stuff, but I think it's been tampered with by the government. So I don't know if it's the best in the world anymore. If you read my article on my the places you'll go.ca, the places you'll go.ca. YOULL, no apostrophe, .ca. And look up Mexican Vanilla. That's my website for Susan and I. I'm traveling all over the world, and I've got something in there on that website about Mexican vanilla. So you might want to read that. But I'm only going to use a little bit, and I'm desperate. So that's the vanilla I'm going to use. So let me do the wet stuff. So before I get to doing the wet ingredients, which I'll need a bowl, right? I only have one bowl like this. All my other bowls are kind of small. Little bowls, plates and bowls, but not very big. So I decided to use a sieve and take my dry ingredients and put them in this pink container. I don't know what I bought with that pink container, but you have to, here in Mexico, you got to use everything you can get your hands on. Otherwise, you just won't be able to do what we normally do in our privileged country of Canada. So anyway, I'm going to do the wet stuff in that bowl and save the dry ingredients for a minute in this pink one. So here's my wet ingredients. We've got the 4 eggs, which sat out at room temperature. I think if you tried to beat them when they were cold right out of the fridge, it might make a difference in your cake. So anyway, they're room temperature. 4 eggs are large eggs. And then I put in my oil, but of course I don't have any, so I'm using butter, so a cup of that. And then I didn't use all the 2 cups of sugar, right? So I'm using a little bit of honey in this wet mixture here, and I'm going to throw in some vanilla. So I'm going to mix it all together, and then I'm going to add the dry ingredients to it. Pretty simple. And when you add the dry ingredients to the wet ingredients, you do it a little at a time. You want it really, really well mixed. So I've mixed it pretty well. I'm about to put in my carrots now, because this is a carrot cake, and I will probably use maybe 3 nice sized carrots and grate them up, a couple of cups at least of carrots. If you have too much or too little, it's still okay. I'd like to put some coconut in it, but I don't have any coconut. But I do have some pecans here, which I'm going to chop up fine, and I'm going to put some raisins, 2 different kinds of raisins in, which by the way, I bought them at the bulk barn store here in Bucerias, which is a little, kind of like a little bulk barn store, and they were dried out, and so I put some water with them and put them in the microwave for a few minutes to plump them up and moisten them. And I'm going to add what else? Oh yes, I think I'm going to put in, instead of pineapple, like a half a cup of pineapple to moisten it, which is kind of the secret. I don't really want to use pineapple because Susan's allergic to it, so I'm going to use some mango, and I'm sure it'll taste just as great. I could use applesauce, but I think I'll use mango. And this cake, of course, I'm going to send the recipe out to all of my friends back in Canada, and I hope that they share this with everybody else and go to my website where it will be posted as well. It's a YouTube channel website, so you go to YouTube and you just type in the search box, you type Bob Wolfowitz with no space, so it's B-O-B and then Wolf, W-O-L-F, and then O and then W-I-T-Z. So type Bob Wolfowitz in the YouTube search box, and you will get all my videos, and this one will be one of them. You might enjoy the other stuff that's there too. So Bob Wolfowitz on the YouTube search box on the internet. Anyway, I'm going to add the other ingredients. I just noticed that I don't have any kind of a chopper here, and to save some time I'm going to use this Mexican chopper. So they're big on cement here in Mexico, so I got a Mexican cement bowl and a Mexican cement rock, and my pecans are in a bag, and I'm going to chop it up. I'm sure it'll work great. So here's the carrots in there with the mango, and it's just sitting there in the bowl fermenting. And I think I mentioned that one of the secrets to a great carrot cake is the pineapple, the half a cup of pineapple that you put in it. Keeps it really moist, or the applesauce. But I think also the other secret is to let this mixture ferment for a while before you put it in the oven. So we'll find out. It's going to go from here to the cake pan to the oven. So I cooked the first cake. There it is. I'll get out of the way so the sun can shine on it. Turned out perfect. I flipped it over and put it on a plate. I cooked it in this gas oven over here, and it was supposed to be at about 350 for about a half an hour, and I had it at 400, then I turned it to 300 in there because I wasn't sure about the temperature, but it worked fine, and I'm used to making cakes just like many of you, so you'll be able to figure that out at home, I'm sure. So now I'm going to put the rest of the batter in here and cook the other half. So while the cake's being made, the last cake, I'm now going to make the icing. So I've got icing sugar, butter. I'm going to use a little vanilla and a little bit of this creamed coconut. It's kind of like carnation milk, but it's kind of yummy. Of course, this is a cake that has no calories at all. So if you're worried about your weight or anything, you need as much of this as you want. Just don't forget to go to YouTube, and in the search box, type in Bob Wolfowitz, BOBWOLFOWITZ, and you'll get this recipe plus 200 other videos of all kinds of exciting things that Beach Baby Bob, that's me, is up to. I need as many followers as possible, so make sure you subscribe, because I want to be a billionaire. And if I'm a billionaire, or when I am a billionaire, I'll be able to give prizes out for people who watch. Like you. You fools. Come on. Subscribe. Tell all your millions of friends. Bye.
Can you direct your friends to that site?
Yeah. So this is the icing, and I know you guys know how to make icing. Probably a lot better than me. Especially people like you, Isabel, who's a chef for all of North America. Isabel's like the best cook, and I have to say that because she is. And then there's people like you, Linda, who loves to cook and can cook too, and Kathy, of course. Kathy lives up north of Edmonton somewhere, and she's the best cook in Calgary of all the people. Edmonton, or wherever she lives, but she's moving, so she's gonna have to compete with Isabel when she gets down to southern Ontario. And who else? That's it. Can't think of anybody else who can cook. Maybe my granddaughter Quintessa. I'll give Quintessa a shout out because she's pretty good at cooking too, as long as she passes Bob Wolfowitz YouTube on to all of her friends back in England, even though she lives in Ottawa. Anyway, goodbye. That's the end of that. I'm going to just ice the cake and eat it. I'm not even going to show it to you. Maybe I'll show it to you. So I'm doing the finishing touches now. I've got icing on the first layer, and I'm going to put the other layer on top of that layer, and then I'm going to put the icing on top, and then we're going to eat it. So anyway, I think that's about it. I'm tired. What the hell? So there it is, the finished product. We're going to eat it with some coconut ice cream, which is right in there. Yum. Hey, what are those frozen fruits doing in there? That looks good too. Frozen coconut ice cream from the ice cream store. Yum. Okay, this is delicious coconut ice cream that's starting to melt. This cake better be good. So even if it's not good, we're going to say it's good. Wait till I eat this piece. Mmm. It looks good, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Top that, La Cruz, Todd, and Lolita. I'm going to send this to you for sure. Top that. Without a what do you call it? A grater, too.